Okay, we're going to start off tonight with a little bit of a contemporary event. I know that many of you probably have already looked at this particular YouTube video, but I know that there's always someone or more than someone who haven't seen things like this. It's all new to them, or they just haven't gotten to it. In fact, I got so many emails of this particular YouTube that I didn't even look at. Finally, I said, well, I'm just going to have to break down and take the time to look at it because I just had not had time. Usually I'm out there at the forefront on these things. But I thought this would be a good exercise. Every now and then, it's good for a teacher to give the class a test. And usually when we come together, I'm the one who does all the talking and everybody else keeps pretty quiet. But I thought, well, we'll just play through this and give you a chance to point out some things and see if you're learning or developing any critical thinking skills. We've talked about worldview, we've talked about a lot of doctrine, but what do we see when we watch something like this? And we have to understand something like this. So this is the new Church of Oprah. Oprah, for those of you who don't know, Oprah has not been, she claims to be a Christian, but that term is used loosely and wrongly by her. She has been a priestess of the New Age movement for at least 23 or 24 years. I was using quotes from her to show how the New Age mysticism had permeated the mainstream media when I was doing seminars on the New Age movement in the mid-'80s. The New Age movement, even talking about it, is now somewhat passé because it truly has gone mainstream. If you don't know what the New Age movement is, that's basically we're in the age of Aquarius, and if you get enough people who are, the New Age movement is, in some ways, it's difficult to define because it's like trying to nail macrobiotic jello to the ceiling. It can mean whatever you want it to mean to whoever you're talking to. It has a little bit of Buddhism, a little bit of Hinduism, a little bit of Kabbalah, a little bit of self-help, just whatever you want to mix into it, and a few Bible verses ripped out of context sprinkled in just to appeal to the mass numbers of Christians who really don't know anything about their Bible or know anything about doctrine. And the sad thing now is with this, and she's promoting this book by this guy named, was it Eckhart Tolle? And so many people just get sucked up into this, and she is so influential that people think that this is really good. And we live in a world today where it's all about self. Everybody is so self-absorbed. It's all about realizing your own potential and being motivated to reach that potential. And you just see how all of this blends together, and it's elements of psychology, it's elements of self-help, it's elements of different religious things all sprinkled in, and none of it is biblical, and you can just see how anti-biblical it is. So let's just walk through a couple of things, and I'll have a few comments and ask you some questions.
Have you heard about the largest church in the world? The first service was March 3rd, 2008, with an attendance of over 300,000. The attendance is now over 2 million, and they conducted the first ever mass trance on March 17th, 2008. What do they teach? Who you are requires no belief. Heaven is not a location, but refers to the inner realm of consciousness. The man on the cross is an archetypal image. He is every man and every woman. The leader's website teaches these lessons.
Okay, let's just stop there. Let me back this up just a little bit. A mass trance. All over the world, people can interconnect through the internet and have this mass trance. But look at some of these propositions
of over 300,000. The attendance is now over 2 million, and they conducted the first ever mass trance on March 17th, 2008. What do they teach? Who you are requires
no belief. What's wrong with that statement? No? That's a belief. Hello. This is the same problem you run into with postmodernism. It's just this self-contradictory propositions, but nobody cares about being logical. So their first statement refutes itself. You have to believe that who you are requires no belief. That is a faith statement, so it is self-contradictory.
No belief. Heaven is not a location, but refers to the inner realm of consciousness.
Heaven is what you have on the inside. Heaven is what you think. What was that old line? You are what you eat. Heaven is what you think. So that means what are they reducing heaven to? They're reducing it to self. What else are they doing? Heaven is what? It's your mental attitude. Heaven is your mental attitude. So is heaven eternal? No. Heaven's not a place. There's no space-time there. So heaven is just a matter of your attitude and how you think. Now, think about where the implications of such a statement. If heaven is what you think, what is hell? Hell has also got to be what you think. And so if you're thinking the wrong things, you're violating other people's heaven. This has interesting implications, but I think one of them is that if who you are requires no belief, and heaven is what you think, then I think heaven really is not having any thoughts. I think that follows.
The man on the cross is an archetypal image. He is every man and every woman.
What do they mean by archetypal image? Are they saying that Jesus isn't historical? How do they know this? See, this should be the foundational question we should be asking, is how do you know this? Remember, the key issue in thinking about anything is how do you know truth? How do you know what's right? How do you know what's wrong? What's your ultimate position? Now, is this coming, what are the 4 ways in which we know something? Rationalism, empiricism, mysticism, and revelation. No, they all require faith. Revelation is God telling you, speaking to you, giving you information you couldn't know any other way. But all of them are based on faith. The problem with setting that up as empiricism, rationalism, or faith is you're juxtaposing faith to reason. That is a major problem because faith isn't irrational. It is rational. But it is the use of reason under the authority of God's revelation. Now, what is their authority for these statements? Themselves. And is it rational or is it irrational? It's irrational. It's not based on principles of logic and reason. What'd you say? Depends on who you ask. It's mysticism. Yeah, well, we won't go there. Okay.
The Leader's website teaches these lessons. My mind is part of God's.
I am very holy. What does this say about the nature of man? He's basically good. Man is good. There's no such thing as sin. And if you talk about sin, and you think of sin as an absolute condition that man is in, you're evil. How negative. So we can't talk about sin because everybody is inherently good. Now, let's think about this a minute. You have Christianity, the Bible, that says there is no one good, there is none who does righteousness. That's in the Psalms, quoted by Paul in Romans chapter 3. You also have Jeremiah saying the heart is deceitful above all things, deceitful and wicked above all things, who can know it? So the heart is deceitful, so you can't really go there for your truth base and mysticism. But if your mind is part of God's and who you are isn't a belief, then what does that say about God's mind? It's not rational. Okay? But what worldview is this? Is this pantheism? Is this theism? Is this atheism? Secular humanism? What's your overall worldview here? My mind is part of God's. It's pantheism. God is